The world has been undergoing severe and rapid changes involving significant challenges in the process. These changes are manifested in trends like globalization, urbanization, technological innovation, shifts in economic and political power, global environmental degradation, climate change, and volatile social conflicts, to name a few. These continuing processes of change may have propelled countries to rise as developed and industrialized, or have made our lives much more comfortable than decades ago. However, it is important to explore their negative impacts, which may center on the role of energy in this transformation. The use of energy poses a paradox. It can promote human well-being and social development, but it can also aggravate environmental problems like pollution and climate change. Thus, in the discourse of human security, energy is intertwined with issues in environment, food, water, and health security, among others. In this video documentary, we will explore the area of overlap between energy and environmental security in the Philippine context. The International Energy Agency defines energy security as the uninterrupted availability of energy sources at an affordable price. Energy security has many dimensions. First, long-term energy security mainly deals with timely investments to supply energy in line with economic developments and sustainable environmental needs. Short-term energy security, on the other hand, focuses on the availability of energy system to react promptly to sudden changes within the supply and demand balance. Energy insecurity is thus linked to the negative economic and social impacts of either physical unavailability of energy or prices that are not competitive or are overly volatile. In cases such as the international oil market, where prices are allowed to adjust in response to changes in supply and demand, the risk of physical unavailability is limited to extreme events. Supply security concerns are primarily related to the economic damages caused by extreme price hikes. The concern for physical unavailability of supply is more prevalent in energy markets where transmission systems must be kept in constant balance, such as electricity and to some extent natural gas. This is particularly the case in instances where there are capacity constraints or where prices are not able to work as adjustment mechanisms to balance supply and demand in the short term. This supply-demand-centric view of energy security, however, misses out on the vital consideration of promoting environmental security as a parallel thrust. The extraction, processing, and consumption of energy from sources which are mainly from fossil fuels have contributed immensely to the increase of greenhouse gas emissions that are harmful to the environment. Thus, the discourse of energy security inevitably touches environmental security. Energy does not only need to be available, but also sustainable. Global stakeholders now push for energy sustainability to address these non-traditional areas of security.
Environmental security nexus as political concepts has dynamics that cannot be explained alone within its own scientific systems. Other factors shape these domains in terms of governance. With this in mind, securitization theory will be used to analyze the nexus of energy and environmental security. Securitization was coined dating back 1980s by the Copenhagen Peace Research Initiative, also known as the Copenhagen School, led by Barry Buzan, Ollie Weaver, and Jacques Duville. Copenhagen School argued that the concept of security had been narrowly interpreted in political and military terms, with the state as the central actor. At the end of the Cold War, security has now broadened into 5 sectors, namely political, military, economic, societal, and environmental. And it also has now deepened, which means that actors now included the environment, society, political regimes aside from the state itself. Moreover, the dynamics of security is amongst the securitizing actor, the referent object to be secured, and the existential threat by which insecurity exists. The securitizing actor must provide the securitizing move by migrating the issue from normal politics to security arena. The actor's objective for the issue to be securitized through extraordinary measures with which an act is outside the usual and normal political sphere, which is subject for policy, debates, and popular opinion. For it to happen, the securitizing actor must provide a speech act where the securitizing intention is within content. And for the speech to be made a successful act, it must be accepted by its intended audience. Only then the actor could provide extraordinary measures to address the existential threat for the referent object. Once it is addressed, the actor will tend to desecuritize the issue back to the normal political sphere. A key application of this theory in analyzing Philippines' energy sector in relation to environment security is found in the National Security Strategy under the administration of President Rodrigo Duterte. The National Security Council, the task agency to formulate the strategy, included energy security and environmental security as key components to national security. The release of such document to public agencies and concerned sectors as audience embody a speech act by the highest authority of the land. It states that the Philippines is committed to secure and protect energy supply throughout the country, sustain and develop existing energy sources, develop alternative, sustainable and environmental friendly sources of energy to support the growing demands of economic enterprises and households, and contribute global efforts to address negative effects of climate change. By securitizing energy environmental issues together, it calls on concerned sector, that is, the Department of Energy, for example, to formulate a strategy through the Philippine Energy Plan 2017-2040. Without such speech act, the measure would have remained in the realm of political machineries competing among all other sectors, not addressed as a security issue needing extraordinary attention from concerned stakeholders. In line with this research, securitization theory can help us discover on how the Philippines securitized the issue of energy environmental security and nexus in light of using renewable energies. True enough, we will examine different actors as well which consider the nexus of energy environmental security on REs. For the purpose of this research, the securitizing actor will be the Philippine government, Worldwide Fund for Nature, and Philippine Energy Efficiency Alliance. Secondly, the existential threats are energy insufficiency and environmental degradation. Lastly, the referent object will be the Filipino people and the environment. Moreover, interviews were conducted to examine the respective speech acts of actors involved in the research. Within their speech acts, we can likely examine their efforts to make the issue from a politicized to securitized issue and see the dynamics of securitizing and desecuritizing the said issue.
The World Energy Council identified 3 elements for energy to be considered sustainable. These are energy security, energy equity, and environmental sustainability. These constitute the Energy Trilemma. This concept entails complex interwoven links between public and private actors, governments and regulators, economic and social factors, national resources, environmental concerns, and individual behaviors. It provides a clear framework to deliver the energy transformation and make sustainable energy systems a reality. Through this concept, the World Energy Council developed a monitoring system that captures and aggregates country-level data to outline the relative energy performances and contextual attributes of almost 125 countries. It publishes a comparative ranking of countries' abilities to provide a stable, affordable, and environmentally sensitive energy system, while highlighting current challenges. The findings of the index analysis are complemented by individual World Energy Council member country profiles. The recent improvements in the economic performance of the Philippines has indicated a large need for energy in the country. The World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report in 2016 to 2017 ranked the Philippines as 57th of the 138 economies worldwide. The ranking reflects many of the country's strengths, including the size of domestic market and underlying GDP growth. This is largely driven by the shifts of the economic priorities from agriculture to industry and greater spending in the government on public infrastructure. This road to industrialization calls for a greater need for energy security in the country. The current energy supply of the Philippines comes from a variety of sources. According to the Department of Energy's 2016 data on primary energy consumption in the Philippines, 34.9% of the consumption was met by oil, 22% by coal, 17.9% by geothermal, 14.1% by biomass, 6.1% by natural gas, 3.8% by hydro, 0.9% by biofuel, and 0.3% by other renewable energy like wind and solar. The importance of a stable, most effective, and sustainable energy mix, as pointed out in the Energy Trilemma, is best described in the following video, courtesy of Aboitiz Power Corporation.
Come into play when crafting the ideal energy mix. But efficiently filling daily demand is only one part of the puzzle. A powerful framework for looking at the whole energy mix is something called the Energy Trilemma. The World Energy Council explains the Energy Trilemma as the balance between the three priorities of the energy industry, namely energy security, energy equity, and environmental sustainability. Energy security is basically the availability of enough energy supply to meet both current and future demand. This is where the need to address the different power demands would come into play. Energy equity means access and affordability of energy for the population. Here, cost is the primary concern. And environmental sustainability means that things are working for the good of the environment, such as using renewable energy sources in our mix.
Our specific securitizing actor for the Philippine government is the Department of Energy, or DOE, where it is mandated by Republic Act 7638, or Department of Energy Act of 1992, to prepare, integrate, coordinate, supervise, and control all plans, programs, projects, and activities of the government relative to energy exploration, development, utilization, distribution, and conservation. For the securitization of REs, we interviewed Renewable Energy Management Bureau of DOE, wherein they are tasked to formulate and implement policies, plans, and programs related to accelerated development, transformation, utilization, and commercialization of renewable energy resources, including emerging energy technologies. We interviewed Director Gaspar G. Escobar Jr., REMBI's Division Chief for NREB Technical Services and Management Division.
Big Show, BI, is for biomass and biofuels. The letter G is for geothermal, S for solar, H for hydro, O for ocean, and W for wind. We need itong mga conventional fuel as the base load kasi kailangan natin ng 24/7. 24/7 na kuryente. Some of the renewable resources are variable. Okay? So we still need itong mga base loads like yung coal, yung petroleum. But it will really help itong ating energy mix o generation mix pag merong renewable energy. As we all know, renewable energy is infinite. Hindi siya nauubos, di ba? And this renewable energy resources are non-polluting, sabihin environment friendly. So there is really the position of the government is we really wanted to promote the use of renewable energy. With those initiatives, meron tayong batas, meron tayong National Renewable Energy Program that would tell to all of us and also to the investors to go here in the Philippines because we have this law that promotes renewable energy. We will help you to develop these power plants here in the country. Ang renewable energy kasi, especially solar and wind, is variable. So they are not always present 24/7. And that would impact now the grid, the transmission lines. It is very difficult, not necessarily difficult. There are challenges to integrate these generations coming from solar at saka wind. Dahil it will affect the absence and presence of this generation will affect now the stability of our grids. Okay. So what I'm saying is, we tap all sources of energy, whether it's nuclear, so conventional like coal, petroleum, natural gas, and everything. We tap all those for us to secure that there will be an enough supply of electricity and power and energy for the whole country. And all those initiatives is embodied in the Philippine Energy Plan. First and foremost, use the indigenous energy resource first for you not to be kumbaga hindi ka umaasa sa iba.
You're not dependent on
Hindi ka maging independent. Kung merong kaguluhan sa Middle East, hindi ka apektado.
Yeah.
Kung merong issue with the pricing, walang impact sa'yo. Dahil yung source mo ng electricity and source ng fuel mo, local. So, ano ibig sabihin yan? What are the energy resources that indigenous here in the Philippines? The renewable energy.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I can say that. Secure tayo, we still need investors kasi. Investors to come in to develop these RE resources.
Okay.
Yan ang tinitingnan natin. That's why we have this RE law. This RE law is promulgated basically to provide incentives to investors that if they would come in here in the Philippines to develop our RE resources, we will give them incentives.
Started in 1961, Worldwide Fund for Nature, or WWF, became one of the known international non-governmental organizations discharged to protect and conserve nature. Established in the Philippines in 1997, it contributed to help the environment in the Philippines through various conservation projects with various offices stationed around the country. Its mandate and project revolve around 4 types: food, water, climate and energy, and wildlife. For the purpose of the research, we delve on with the climate and energy sector of WWF. According to them, the fast growth of the Philippine economy entails increasing demand for resources, including energy, to sustain such growth. But climate change poses threat to it, leading to conflicts, food insecurity, climate disasters, environmental degradation, and energy insufficiency. That is why WWF resolves to help the Philippines build the effort to combat the effects of climate change through the use of clean initiatives such as REs to realize the full growth of the Philippines without consequences of the climate change issue. There, cities and communities would thrive because of energy efficiency along with environmental sustainability. Attorney Angela Concelo Ibay, the head of climate and energy of WWF Philippines, expanded it for us.
What's good is that the DOE now, the DOE has always had the Philippine Energy Plan. You know, they've always written up, and there's a National Renewable Energy Plan which is now being reviewed. And they're now subscribing to like triple the renewable energy resource based on these plans, so triple the generating capacity. What we like about that is that they're promoting renewable energy, which we prefer rather than having conventional fossil fuel. So having renewable energy more in the country is actually for us more preferable. And so long as the environmental factors that are in place, so that these renewable energy resources are actually not totally exhausted and they're used properly, then that is something that we subscribe to. Yes. And no. Yes, because in fact the Philippines has been one of the forefront of having the proper laws in place. Now that we're moving we're now implementing it. We're now seeing that there's some gaps also. So there still needs improvement. It's not a perfect system, definitely. And it also took a while before some of the renewable energy mechanisms which are in the law to be put in place. And also because we're still very much a country that uses a lot of electricity from fossil fuel. So while we know that the law is there and there has been some good implementation done, there's still more that needs to be done if we want to say that we're actually using renewable energy for our better environment. I don't think there's one single best strategy. One of the opportunities that we have is really maximize the renewable energy resources that we have in the country. But I think it's also getting, the different other sectors. I mentioned the financing sector. One is because they've they've always seen also renewable energy as more, I guess, more risky because they're not familiar with it.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, because they've been funding or putting their funds and investments into traditional, conventional fossil fuel plants, and that's why, because they're more familiar with it.
Founded in 2016, Philippine Energy Efficiency Alliance, or PE2, is a civil society, non-profit organization serving as convener of energy service providers which seeks to contribute to the Philippines' efforts toward its long-term energy intensity reduction, annual final energy demand reduction, and greenhouse gas emission avoidance targets through the accelerated deployment of energy efficiency, or EE, energy conservation, or EC, and renewable energy, or RE technologies across various energy end-use sectors and other market segments. Mr. Alexandra Ablaza, the president of PE2, expanded their existence and mandate. The Philippine Energy Plan 2017-2040 by the Department of Energy aims to ensure energy security, expand energy access, promote a low-carbon future, strengthen collaboration among all government agencies involved in energy, implement, monitor, and integrate sectoral and technological roadmaps and action plans, advocate the passage of the Energy Department's legislative agenda, strengthen consumer welfare protection, and strengthen international relationships with partners. It basically aims to increase installed capacity by making sure that the current energy mix is supported by indigenous and renewable energy resources.
What they don't know is, all over Asia and including the Philippine market, the cheapest, quickest, most untapped energy, clean energy resource in the country is not renewable energy. It is energy efficiency. What good is renewables if you are still wasting on the demand side? Renewables is a supply side intervention. Energy efficiency is a demand side intervention. Now, what is energy efficiency? Energy efficiency is doing the same or delivering the same output or service with less energy. Another direct correlation is the more energy efficiency you pump into the system, the less coal-fired power generation is needed in that grid. So imagine, you shut off more, you're able to retire more coal-fired power plants, especially the old polluting and GHG emitting coal-fired power plants. So yes, again, there's a direct correlation. You accelerate improvement of environmental protection by accelerating also energy efficiency, deployment of technologies, services, and capital.
Amidst the Philippines' high ranking in the environmental security component of the Energy Trilemma, there are still concerns that this may not be the case in a few years. During a recent hearing at the Senate Energy Committee on the country's energy security issue, Senator Gatchalian pointed out that the Department of Energy has failed to articulate energy security in the Philippines Energy Plan 2017 to 2040, despite of the agency's mandate to put it at the forefront of its energy direction. He criticized the plan for not addressing the Philippines' need for energy security and energy sufficiency. He referenced the country's poor performance in the World Energy Council's Energy Trilemma Index, which ranks the performance of each country based on energy security, energy equity, and environmental sustainability. For 2018, the Philippines ranked 74 out of 125 countries, down from its 70th place ranking in 2017 after garnering C ratings for energy security and energy equity, and an A rating for environmental sustainability. The Philippines stood out in the area of environmental sustainability, ranking first out of 125 countries. However, the scrutinized Philippine Energy Plan showed a continued increase on the share of fossil fuels in the country's energy mix, thus signaling a potential decrease of the share of renewable energy. Under the DOE's business-as-usual scenario, the share of renewables in the energy mix, including geothermal, biomass, and hydro, is projected to drop at 17% in 2040 from 36% in 2017. The country's installed renewable energy capacity is only expected to grow at a dismal pace of 1.5% over the 24 years. In contrast with the 6.5% and 6.7% growth rates of installed capacity of oil and coal plants, respectively. These presented data of the Department of Energy show that the Philippines remains heavily dependent on external sources for its petroleum supplies, importing 94% of its oil requirements. It will definitely affect the rating of the Philippines in the sustainability criteria of the Trilemma, which it has dominated for 3 consecutive years. There are still more rooms for improvement when it comes to renewable energy in the Philippines. In conclusion, the Philippines securitizes renewable energy with President Rodrigo Duterte being the securitizing actor, expressing his securitizing move through the National Security Strategy as a speech act, and with stakeholders from various sectors as audience, which accepted the call for the President to securitize renewable energies. It is observed too that even though the National Security Strategy tries to provide extraordinary measures on the issue of renewable energies, the response of the stakeholders is still within the domain of normal politics. It is best for the Philippines to pursue projects that will expand its capacity in developing or harnessing renewable energy sources. How it reconciles energy and environmental security will remain crucial in its action plans, for it will serve as a springboard of its future development trajectory.